All right, so this is what we're doing today to get better at boxing. Well, this week to get better at boxing, and specifically with our head movement and how important it is to know what we're doing with our head to get better at boxing overall. So with our head movement, we work on that on Tuesdays and Fridays, 2 times a week. And so the combination that we're working on this week as well is the double jab right hand. So the way that we're going to get better at head movement using this heavy bag and using this tool when we work out on our own to get better when our coach isn't around, or if we don't have a coach at all, is we're going to pay attention to our head slot before we start the combination, while we're throwing the combination, and after we throw the combination. We're also going to imagine our opponent, because this bag is our opponent without arms or legs or a face, what they are doing with their head slot as before we punch, while we're punching, and after we're punching. The reason why that's important, because that's what dictates how we're manipulating someone's head or aiming at a target. When we talk about head slots, there are 6 head slots. I have a whole entire video on that. I have a system on that as far as the different head slots you have. But just real quick, if we talk about neutral, both heels on the ground, which means my head is in the center, I have an up and I have a down. Now, when I think front foot, which means that my head is predominantly over my front foot, I also have that same up and down position. Now, when I get into that backwards head slot, I also have those same options, up and down. So what I'm imagining is my opponent's head being in one of those 6 locations or in proximity to those 6 locations. And that's what I'm focusing on as I'm hitting the bag. In addition, I'm focusing into where my head is at during those 6 in those 6 positions, because if I know where my head is, I know where I can exit with my head and potentially where my opponent is throwing their shots, because I am the target.